5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we live. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Voices of the Fraternity with myself, Manda. And thank you so much for tuning in, whether you're watching or listening. Thank you so much. On the YouTube, please continue to subscribe. Please continue to like, comment, and share this video. On today's episode, we are sitting with Tebogo Mohwaduba.
Hello.
Yes.
Thank you. You said it perfectly. A lot of people struggle.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
A pat on the shoulder. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. Sorry, I meant to say Tebogo Mohwaduba. CASA. We're continuing. We're continuing with the series on following the journeys of those that have pursued becoming chartered accountants. And yeah, she's one of the guests, and she'll be walking us through her journey, how she got here. And I hope you are left inspired, you are left wanting more. Yeah. To start, an icebreaker.
Okay.
Which part of your journey to becoming, so from undergrad all the way to writing APC, which part would you say was your favorite and which part was your least favorite?
I think board exam lunches were my favorite because it's like in that moment, that's like the culmination of years of work. Because it's not just the board exam, it's the undergrad, it's CTA, and the actual exam. And once you get that piece of paper and it says, congratulations. Yes. So those were
What are
key
board
moments.
exam lunches?
So in top programs, you'll usually have, because they're relatively smaller programs than the audit firm programs. So on the day when results come out, we'll be booked at a restaurant, and then people in your year, you'll sit together and have lunch, and then until the moment of truth, and then our office manager will then announce the pass rate and call us up one by one and hand us our envelopes. Then you find your fate at that time. Sounds so scary. Yeah, it's very nerve-wracking just before, but afterwards, because in the years I was, we had 100% pass rates in for first and the second board exam. So those, I think that's why those are my favorite moments, because we went through a lot together, and for us to get to the finish line together was quite special and not that common.
Beautiful. Your least favorite?
Sure. Least favorite, I think CTA. It was just a tough year. It's a lonely year because it's you and the books, and you just have to focus and get through.
Yeah.
I remember our head of departments at the time, I'm not sure if he's still there, Professor Johan Oberholz. He was like, don't do anything this year. Don't get married. Don't get divorced. Don't fall pregnant. Don't go to parties. Don't go to funerals. Don't do anything. Just study and get through this year. And I was like, that's a bit dramatic. Then the year started, and I was like, okay,
He's right.
yeah. So it was a tough year and a lonely year. So you're dealing with your academics, and life is still happening. So somehow you have to keep it together to get to the finish line, because it's not a year that you want to repeat.
Yeah, can you imagine? Can you imagine? Okay. Now let's go back to Tebogo as a little girl.
Alrighty.
Can you paint a picture of yourself? Where you from? Your family? And yeah.
Sure. So I was born and bred in Mpumalanga, eMalahleni. I am number 4 of 5 children, 4 girls and 1 boy. So he's the second born. So he's one of my older siblings. And then I have a younger sister, and then 2 older sisters. And yeah, grew up in a loving, safe, fun home, raised by a single parent. Our dad passed in 94, so quite, yeah, we were quite young. My oldest sister was 14 at the time, and the youngest was 9 months old. And my mom was 36, turning 37. So
You had a similar story. Those who watched my sister episode, it's giving.
yeah, that's so those vibes. Yeah, so it was, an unfortunate circumstance, but the way my mom just held us together like a mother hen and kept us under her wings and made sure that we get the best of everything, and that she sacrifices to make sure that we're fine. That's very thematic in our upbringing.
Yeah.
Went to the same school from grade 0 to matric. Literally a second home. Yeah, so went to the same school with two of my sisters. One just older than me and my younger sister. St. Thomas Aquinas School. Previously a convent, but it's a Catholic school run by German nuns initially. But obviously, as time evolved, it became a school with teachers from all backgrounds. But that's enjoyed our childhood. Well, enjoyed my childhood. Not speak on behalf of my mother's other children. We're all quite close. We're good friends, not just siblings. So yeah, finished matric, went to the University of Pretoria. UCT was on the cards, but mom was like, "How are you gonna get there?
Yeah.
Who's gonna be picking you up during your holidays or so?"
So for St. Thomas was a broke high school.
Yes, so literally the same school from Greg North all the way to Matric.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'm a long time there.
And when you were there, the decision to actually choosing a career, how did that come about?
I think it's quite crazy that teenagers are given the decision to choose careers. But I think it was around grade 9 we did aptitude tests.
Yes.
Like, I don't know, it was like a wave in private schools where psychologists just flooded the schools with these aptitude tests to guide the children and give them the career options. I don't know who got that gig, but it was a very good tender. But that test didn't really help because it was like, you can do anything. So
Really? Okay. We had a similar test that told me that I should do hospitality. I did not even take the subject in grade 10. He's like, no.
yeah, so I don't think that helped much. Um, I did want to be a pilot at some stage, but I think that was inspired by a play in grade 3. Did a Jubilee play when the school turned 75, and I was Amy Johnson, the first woman to fly. So I was like,
This is a sign. I'm going to be a pilot.
but that faded at some point. And then I thought about law, commercial law, so it would be banking and finance. And then my accounting teacher was like,
Rubbish. We don't have enough black female CAs. You're going to be a chartered accountant. And I was like, okay.
so she planted the seed. I think that was grade 10, early grade 11.
Yeah.
And then I started reading up on, I remember we had our accounting textbook had like a page with a write-up about the profession. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. And I looked more into it. And I was like, oh, well, why not? And my older siblings were already in other fields. So I thought, let me diversify.
Are you still close with your siblings, and what do your siblings do? I'm on the last one because we studied together and we now work together. But are you guys still as close-knit as you were growing up? And what are the different fields that everybody actually explored?
I think we are. It's just different because now people are older, people have families, children. So, and we don't live in the same household, but we still have that bond, and we see each other often, and we try to do a lot of things, especially around children and holidays and all of that, just to keep that connection. Our oldest sister, she's late now, but she was in the Grammy Award-winning Soweto Gospel Choir. Very proud of her and the legacy she left there. So she went into music full-time professionally.
Yeah.
My brother is an engineer, so he's in the mining sector. Then my sister that comes after him, she's a medical doctor. Then there's me, and then my younger sister who's a lawyer, as you.
Yes.
And then Anna is a teacher. I think your mom is a
My mom's also a teacher, yes. I was very intentional in asking that because I know your sister Tebogo does. We're following her on WhatsApp when I still had her number. I'd see him like, Ata was from a very successful
by God's grace.
Nah? No, it is. It really is. Like, God has favored and graced you guys so much.
And it's being a wise and focused mother.
No, for real, for real.
And how did you come to choosing the University of Pretoria?
So, like I mentioned earlier, so UCT was on the cards. A friend of mine was like, "Deal, it's time to keep time." These small town kids, let's explore. So I was like, okay, filled in the forms, and it got quite advanced. And then my mom was just like, let's practically think about this one. And my sister was already in medical school at the time. So I was like, actually, it doesn't really make sense because if she needs to do pickups or drop-offs, or we have to travel or go home for like holidays, it would make sense if we're in the same city. Okay, so that was the logic, but we didn't even see each other that much in Pretoria. We'd see each other more often at home. But logically, it just made sense to not burden her with, doing cross-country trips and drop-offs and visits. So, yeah, Pretoria made sense. And my school, so St. Thomas is a feeder school for the University of Pretoria. So a lot of us go there, a majority, because in the proximity, because it's literally an hour from
It is.
home. So it makes sense, and it's a great university. So I know.
That's what I think about.
Yes,
You see the address?
I did. I was in Erika. Had the
best lady.
yes, probably time of my life there. Met women who are some of my best friends now. I mean, I still have best friends from like grade naught and grade one, and I was like, and my sister told me, like, you're gonna like meet new friends, you're probably gonna meet like your best friend. And I was like, that's impossible. Like, and I got there, and yeah, I met amazing girls, and those are my close friends till today.
Yeah. And I'm a fan of Tatsuri's culture. A big fan.
And I hope you participated in the culture.
Everything.
How was your experience?
I did everything. It was quite a mind shift to go from being, in matric and, the seniors of the school, to starting over and wearing uniform and having songs to sing before you enter the house or when you leave the house.
Yeah.
And having like this house committee to answer to, and curfews and all of that. I mean, I never had a curfew growing up. So when I got to Pretoria and it's like, you have to be in the house by this time, I was like, what? But okay. So I think, yeah, that was quite a shift. But because it's a group experience and you're all doing this for the first time, I tried to participate in as much as I could, as much as school would allow, and just enjoy it to the fullest. And I really had a good time in university, and driven particularly by grades.
Love that. And how was the studies part of, and also just juggling? A lot of people do struggle staying in grades, taking part in the activities, and still passing.
It can get a bit much, and I think that's where one of your first lessons as a young adult in drawing boundaries come in, because it's almost like this burden obligation that you have to be at the social, you have to come prepare for this event, you have to this. So at some stage, you need to remember what you're there for. So I think I guess first year was more of an adjustment. The year itself wasn't particularly difficult. It was just volume, because there were lots of subjects, lots of modules. So I think it helped in that sense that I didn't find the academics particularly difficult. So that helped me to sort of juggle. But second year, third year, that's where it's like, okay, this is serious. I'm such a my future's in my hand. This is it. It's up to me. So I think, yeah, as it got more serious, you kind of have to take a step back and not be at everything all the time. Otherwise, it's not going to end well.
Did you become part of the Hauka?
I did. So my portfolios were finance and serenade and discipline.
That's nice. Hauka is the house committee at Res. Yes, committee.
We don't really say that anymore. Yeah. So so those were portfolios, and I was quite excited because I come from a singing family. So serenade, I mean, I'd never seen a lot of. I don't think I'd seen in my time the Black House Committee member taking care of serenade, because it's like music, it's technical and whatever. So when I got that, I was like excited, but like, we are the point of reference. But I had a great team around me, and we had the best time, and created beautiful music. Yeah. Discipline, I mean, I didn't know I was that girl, but I was like, okay. But apparently I was scary that day, so I guess it worked. Finance, I think it's just, I don't know, maybe because I always the finance. Yeah, I was the become girl in the troop. But we did win an award that year for innovation, because I did switch up a few things in how we like manage our books and our funds that we raised.
Yeah. Okay. And you passed third year. undergrad?
So I had to repeat my third year undergrad, and I think that was one of those reckoning moments where you have to look at yourself in the mirror and you need to choose what's important, and you need to have boundaries and do what matters. Because that year, I mean, I have no regrets. I think that house committee year was an important year for me for various reasons. But when I didn't get through third year, I mean, it was devastating, but my family was supportive, and I was like, are people sure they understand what I'm telling them? That I'm not going to CTA next year. I was like, it'll be fine.
It's fine.
Yeah, so that helped, and I did I did lose my anniversary that year, which was devastating. And I was like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? This single mom that's done the most, and now I'm like, I don't have funding for next year. But God came through again, and that year was fully funded, and then finally got through to CTA. So it was one of those lessons, especially when you are used to doing well in academics and
Yeah.
everything going well, and then that year happens and it doesn't turn out the way I expected at the end. So it was a shock to the system, but it was a growth moment for me.
Yeah. And I know it's CTA. Do you also do it at Tugs?
Yes.
Okay, so you repeated your third year, slayed it, qualified. Because I know not everyone actually makes it, right?
Yeah, so the system at Tux, so you have to qualify for CTA. So you can pass your third year, but you need to pass it at a certain average to qualify for CTA. So you'd find that you're in a class with a whole bunch of people that are repeating, but they've actually passed. It's just they didn't get that percentage necessary for that year. So, but our lecturers are quite encouraging, and at that moment, it's like the world is over. But like you're just a kid. Like the path ahead is very long. So just do what you need to do, get through CTA, and start your articles.
Yeah. Okay. Now I'm tempted to go back. How was academic life in high school? Choosing subjects and how well you performed, and then now jumping back into varsity. Yeah, like, got this.
I was strong academically, so straight A students, like my sisters. I think when you have an older sibling, it's like you would know. It's like, you know what you have to do. So I was strong academically. So in terms of choosing subjects at the end of grade 9, I knew that biology and medicine and that type of thing wasn't something I wanted to do. So I didn't want to burden myself with a heavy subject set that was not necessary. So I took science because that's, I think, something our parents want us to do, so we have options. Like if you want to stream into engineering or medicine, if it so happens. So I took science, I took accounting, and then I took consumer studies. The typical combo would have been to add biology, but I've seen my sister's sufferings. I don't need biology, so let me take 2 core subjects and then an additional one, just to make sure that I can at least have the subjects I need should I change my mind in terms of career path. And then even with accounting, you don't need accounting as a high school subjects to study accounting in university. So I think as long as science was there, like, felt like,
And mathematics, I guess.
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think maths lit was available. I think it became available maybe after my year, if I'm not mistaken.
Really?
So we were all doing pure math at the time.
Okay. Okay, that's interesting. And now you're done CTA.
Yes.
You are choosing where to go next. How was that process?
That was very interesting because I think going into university, I wasn't aware that there was another path to be a chartered accountant without doing auditing. That was standard procedure. So my bursar was a bank. So I got invited to a winter school where we'd spend a week at their offices and learn about banking, the different franchises. And that's where I learned about the CA training program. And I was like, what? You can do this without doing auditing? Where do I sign?
Is it because you didn't like auditing as part of your 4 majors, or you just like, there's an alternative?
I mean, even auditors don't like auditing sometimes. So, but I think it was, if there's another option, it's something I wanted to explore, because I didn't really see myself in an audit firm. Because I think in my second year, I did a stint during the holidays at a firm, and I was like, so when I found out that there's this other environment in banking where you can still get all your competencies, still write your board exams and qualify, I was quite interested. And that winter school opened up my eyes to like a whole new world. So I think after finding out that that's a possibility, I then attended that bank's CA training program winter school. It's just a bit more in-depth than the one I'd initially gone to, and that's where everything was just revealed, and I was like, I'm going for this. Yeah. And then that's when I applied and I did my interview first quarter of CTA. I remember it was my sister's graduation. I did the interview, took the train to Sandton, interviewed, came back on the grad, and went back to study.
Yeah. Okay. You made it.
I did. I think because of the exposure, because I'd been to the winter school previously, you understand the environment and even the interview questions, and it makes a bit more sense when you understand the context. And in my year, the 2014 to 2016 cohorts, there were 9 of us. So programs are quite small.
Yeah.
Compared to like friends of mine who joined an audit firm and the 149 other first year trainees. 9 of us of 7 guys and 2 girls. And yeah, that was also a thing where programs outside of auditing, I think it's better, but they are still quite male dominated. And I think it's because they interview well, because some of them have exposure way before we even know what it's a deal maker is, what investment banking is about. So if you're this 19, 20-year-old interviewing for a banking program and you have an investment portfolio since grade 10, and you know about the finance and business news because your dad showed you the ropes. I'm like, I don't even have dad. A single mom, I don't even have a dad. So that exposure makes a difference, because you'll obviously interview well when you've had that exposure and you know what you're talking about. Yeah. Versus like some kid from a small town who's never been inside of an investment bank.
Sure.
So, which is why I found it important that once I finish the program, I'm on the other side and interviewing candidates to push for, women to plant so for more people that look like me to be there, and for people to be interviewed by people that look like them. Yes. So that it does make a difference, and that's important. Yeah, that process can turn out differently.
And I've heard, you can correct if it's true, that getting articles in a bank is more difficult than an audit firm. Perhaps one of the contributing factors is the fact that they take fewer people. How much stress is put on academic performance for you to actually qualify into getting training at a bank?
Yeah, so it is more difficult, naturally, because the programs are so small. Like I said earlier, 9 first years versus 150 at an audit firm. So that makes it more competitive. So academics are important, but it's also about being a well-rounded individual. Because I've sat in interviews and people are brilliant, 99% average, doing all the things that need to be done and coasting through CTA, but the well-roundedness, if there were gaps, it's actually would be a disservice to put someone like that in environments that they wouldn't cope in social, so your social and emotional intelligence also has to come through, because unlike audit programs where, let's say, as a first year, you'd be on an audit with maybe 2 other first years and second years and a manager. In a banking program or a top program, it's just you. So most of my rotations, I was the only trainee there, and usually the youngest. So you're now in this serious finance team, and you just got out of school, and that it's just you there working with this team, and you have to learn your role. Obviously, they know you're still learning and growing, but you literally have a role to fulfill there while you're rotating. So it's you just need to be a person that can handle that type of environment, and that needs to be environment that you want. Because for some people, being with peers, maybe you thrive better there.
Yeah.
We're with other trainees, and you're a big cohort and you're a big group. So it depends on the type of person you are. But I think besides academics, you just also have to have those other types of intelligence come through, and just be a well-rounded person.
Yeah. I like the point of whether you thrive more in a peer setting. Yeah, just that awareness that if you do go into banking, chances are you will be alone.
Yes, in the
With other seniors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not that it's a better type of person that can go into. It's just a different type of person.
It's different type.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, we're all qualified professionals, but it's just about the right environment for you. And there are audits. We had trainees who left the bank and went to audit firms to finish off.
Okay.
So we had someone leave not in my year, but a group older than me, who left in a second year, and other people who finished their articles and going to audit firms, because that's actually the environment they're better suited for. And then the bank has a lot of auditors, CAs who trained in audit firms. So you can still come through after articles if you are the right candidate, but for some reason you don't make it. And that's not the end. 3 years flies quickly. Yeah. And majority of the CAs in the bank are from audit backgrounds. So it's not like if you don't get into the top program, that's it. So the programs are small. So, not everyone can get in.
Okay. So how was juggling the first board exam and the second board exam and still completing your article?
Before the board exam, it was a very sad December while I was revising, watching my family have a good time.
So that's very hard. Like, just looking outside my bedroom window and people having the time of their lives. I'm studying or something. What is this? But it's worth it. But it is tough. So actually, congratulations and all the best to the trainees that wrote last week. So on the 21st to the 23rd, the first years wrote ITC, now IAC, the initial assessment of competence. So that's board one before we start work, which I think works well. So we can just write the exams and move on before get into this new environment. So studying was because you're so exhausted by the end of CTA, and now you have to sit down again and prepare for the actual board exam. But I think I was prepared and feeling stable, because if you're emotionally all over the place, that can affect your performance. So it's just important to block out any noise or then ask for space. Like if your family needs to step back a bit and leave you alone, then you need to ask for that space just so you can get through those couple of days of exams. Because it's one sitting over a couple of days for various subjects, but it's like that's your one shot at that time. So you want to be in the right state of mind, So getting through that exam, I think CTA prepared us well. Tux is brilliant, and the stats are always good. Tux gets 100% pass rates every year, and I think that's because of the philosophy of how they teach. Because in my first year, that first week, Mr. Gapper, my accounting lecturer, said to us, "I'm not here to lecture you so you can pass your first year. I'm here to help you pass your first board exam."
Sure.
And I was like, that is deep. Like,
You're here now, but we're planning for
exactly. It's not about getting through this. I'm preparing you to get through the board exam. And I think that philosophy just carries through. By the time you have that sitting, you know that you're prepared. You just need to have your wits about you and make sure that you get through and do what you need to do.
Sure. And
then articles began. So the thing about top programs, they are well, in the environment I was in, they are quite unique because no two training programs look the same. So over 3 years, I had about 10 rotations through different franchises of that banking group, and no other trainee had a program that looked like mine. So we all start off in financial accounting because that's the most familiar in that environment. So we'll do an accounting rotation where you're a financial accountant in your role for 6 or 7 months. And then from there, you can move to credit or tax or risk. But no two programs look the same. So I quite enjoyed that. So over the 3 years, those 10 rotations, I was exposed to group tax, group consolidations after year-end results, risk, bit of credit, transacting in front office rotations in the investment bank, asset finance. So by the time I got to the end of my articles, I had a very well-rounded view of how banking works and where my areas of interest were.
Sure.
And I mean, before we finish articles, we write board 2 at the end of our second year APC. So that's would have been end of 2015. And then after backbone, there's still another year articles to complete. And I think that's the tough part where, because by the time you get to the end of your second year, like you're not a kid anymore. Like you're in the system, you're working, and you are adding more value because you've learned more.
Okay.
So managing that and preparing for that exam while you're in a rotation, because by that time we're all over the show. Some people are in credit, some people are maybe in tax, other people are in front office rotations with different demands. So you have to manage that to make sure that you have enough space to prepare for that exam and get time off to make sure that you're ready. So that challenged me because I was in a rotation where it's supposed to be the easiest rotation. Our internal audit rotations are like 3 months. So in the whole 3 years, like it's only 3 months of audit that we'll ever do. And it was supposed to, that people would knock off it early and move on with their lives, live their very best lives. But it was my most challenging because the manager that had joined, he didn't really understand what the program was. And the turnover wasn't something we want to publish, but it wasn't great. So there was a lot of turnover in that team and not enough people to do the work. So I was just thrown in the deep end in what I thought would be, easy sailing. So that was quite a challenge because when I took off to now prepare for Board 2, there was this work that no one else could finish because I was the team.
Yep.
So that was very challenging. I remember I eventually went on anxiety medication.
No way.
And got that bad. Then I was like, this is not who I am. This has to stop. And, ask God to just help me get through that exam and move on from those tasks to help me just wrap up and finish up because that was, not the story of my life.
Let's double tap on that. And just the experience of corporate. Like there's the experience of I'm completing my articles, but you are entering into a new environment where things operate very differently. And to hear you say that there was a point where you went on medication. That's the story of many people in corporate. So maybe you can tell us a bit about that experience.
So I think generally, so that was an outlier experience because generally for trainees, there is a lot of cover and protection. So maybe one of the things I should have done was speak up a bit earlier to tell the training program manager, like, this is what's happening. Because if that happens, they can actually pull you from a rotation and take you elsewhere if things are not working out. So maybe an earlier intervention would have helped. But that's because it's not that business unit's program. You're just rotating there as a resource. So there is that protection. But once you qualify and now you're permanent on another team, those are other dynamics completely. So I think I am grateful for that part, that there was someone looking out for us. If a rotation was going south, we could even get cancelled completely and ensure that no one gets sent there until they sort out. Yeah, like if it's a staffing issue, like hire people, don't make the children slave away and they're not supposed to be doing. So I'll give credit to the program for all that. And I'm an assessor, a psycho assessor, so I sign off, assess and sign off trainees during the program. So I'm more the other side now, and that feedback is important because I don't think, especially during articles where you're quite young, you're figuring things out, it's a new environment. We have to protect young professionals as much as we can. So if there's any feedback from one of my trainees that this rotation, these are the issues, this is what's going on, it's addressed with urgency, and if that rotation needs to be cancelled, rather that, because mental health and well-being is critical, and I think it was overlooked in corporate for a very long time, and now there's this like laser focus, but you need to be practical, like, yes, go to therapy, but if we need to cancel a rotation or intervene, we need to. And I mean, corporates have a lot of wellness programs and therapists on site and the like. So we need to use those resources. But if there are serious issues, we need to address them. And I know, like, you're in a legal environment, and there are all sorts of dynamics there too. It's not that simple. But we need to do what we can to keep our mental health intact.
Very true. If it needs leaving, leave.
That's an option. We're not is a board.
Yeah.
We're not super loads. We're full little studies. Exactly. Those are our moms. Shout out to them. But no, there's no need to stay and suffer and die inside.
And I was receiving your APC results. I imagine you were at the board, right? Yes. Yeah.
They are similar to that first one because it's the same group. It's the 9 of us together, and we all make it through. So it's just one of those highlights. And just the culmination of years and years of work and sacrifice and, trying to get to the finish line in one piece. So it was really awesome. I actually still have both the letters from those lunches. So yeah, it was a good feeling.
Nice. And what does the process look like of being retained? Yeah. How do you get absorbed as a permanent employee?
Sure. So that path is not exactly linear. So it depends on the years. I mean, the work environment has cycles where they are freezing headcount or where there is appetite and there's demand for more headcount. So that process can be a bit tricky because in my year, not everyone was able to be retained in their final rotations. So by the end of third year, we're all spread out during different rotations and in different business units. And the objective is basically to try and land up in the final rotation where you'd like to be retained.
Okay.
But then there is liberty to organize that yourself. You don't have to follow the program or unless things are a bit tight in business, isn't that great that you then the program can say you something specific. But if you say you want to be in commercial property, you can organize that last rotation yourself.
Okay.
And have the conversations for rotation. So sometimes that works, and other times, like, the headcount's just not there. So people can either move to other teams where there is space and wait for an opportunity for space to open in the team that they want. But it's all about building those networks and relationships while you're doing your articles, so that by the time you get to the end of your third year, you remember that the so-and-so said, give me a call when you finish.
It's time.
Exactly. So I think it's also part of the skill that you learn during the 3 years, that each rotation is to be treated like a full-time job. So by the time you leave, it must be clear that aspililana. So I think building those relationships over the 3 years was helpful because there were options here and there. So for instance, I knew that I wanted to go back into the investment bank, but at the time I wasn't clear which team, because I wanted to a team where I could stay for a reasonably long time, and a place where I felt like it aligned with my values. So I also wanted to be an executive assistant after articles, just to get that strategic exposure and do different kinds of work.
Yeah.
And
So those who don't know, please tell us what an executive assistant.
It's not a PA, number one.
Because that name is misleading.
yes, exactly. So it's basically where you work very closely with an executive of a business unit. So someone in the C-suite, whether it's the CFO, the CEO, CIO, and you're basically their right-hand person. So
Right.
if they board meetings or strategic sessions or just day-to-day work, you help execute those work streams. And I had built quite a good relationship with a CFO of a particular business and wanted to go back into that business, but in this capacity. So those chats, hey, call me when you're done. Like, hey, yeah, it's me. So we had a conversation, and he was quite keen on exploring that opportunity. And I spent a year in that business as an executive assistant,
Okay.
where I got to just see a different side of the business, like what happens in those big meetings, how are decisions made, how is strategy formulated, and how is it measured. So it just gives you another perspective, because getting to work, doing what you need to do, sometimes that can isolate you from the bigger picture. So stepping into that role just helped me understand the principles of, strategy,
Yeah.
having that bird's eye view, and also being in the details. So that was quite important for me. And it's also a chemistry thing. So I wanted to work with that particular exec because we got along well, and because the hours are not cute, so you don't want to be there with someone you don't like.
Yeah.
So because we worked well together and we had that mutual respect for each other, like it makes long nights more bearable, and you can submit your work, get that slide deck in for the board meeting, go sleep in their AMs, but you're fulfilled because you've learned something and you've helped someone that you respect and that is, growing a business.
Okay. And post the EA post.
Phew. So then that's when I went back to the investment bank, and the way it worked out was quite interesting. So in that particular business, things got a bit rocky, and some people left, and there were retrenchments at the time. But I had already started. I'd been invited to a coffee by a team in the investment bank that was looking for new people to join, and at the time I didn't really know much about that team because they're like reading contracts all day. You don't just see them willy-nilly in the building because they are a very busy team doing the Lord's work.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
infrastructure and project finance. So I didn't really know what they did, but I got to know them and they explained their business and I was interested. So I went through the process. It wasn't just a transfer. So I went through the interview process, case studies, modeling, all of that, and got a role there. But it happened to coincide with a time where things were rocky on the other side. So to the unknowing team members or staff, it looked like I was safe me across to the next building. But that was all God because the timing was just crazy. Because I think on the Monday I got the offer, there was news that hey, Biashuba up. So the timing was just perfect. So but I know that was God's hand. Could never have been my doing or my connections. And then beginning of that following year, then I joined that team and I've been there ever since. So that was beginning of 2018.
Okay. And what do you do? If we're explaining to someone who is, let's say varsity. Yeah, let's place it at varsity. And is studying accounting and deciding audit, banks, tip top, whatever. What does Tebogo's day-to-day actually look like?
Sure. I mean, yeah, every day is so different, but essentially I'm a transactor in infrastructure. So those are all those tangible projects, whether it's a toll road, a border post, a wind farm, a solar plant, an airport. So I'm part of the team that works on transactions that have to do with our built environment and assets and infrastructure that helps economies and boosts economies. So
First thing I do is open Excel.
when it gets quick, I don't do as much modeling work, but it's just a reflex, a natural reflex. The core foundation is knowing how to do financial modeling, because that's the transaction. Where's the revenue coming from? How's it going to pay off our debts? What are the obligations before and after our debt is serviced? And when can we get our money back? And what are the chances of things going wrong? And what does that look like? So a lot of it's the foundation of what I do is in the financial modeling. Because if the model doesn't work, then there's no deal.
Okay.
And the legals and the negotiations, the contracts, like there's constant reference to the model. So once that competency takes a couple of years to master, and once you've got that foundation, you can move on to the next building block, where now you're looking at finance stocks, which are the legals that tie the model, tie back to the model, because it's the next transition. So, and then after finance stocks, the next competency where you're looking at the project stocks, like how are we actually contracting for this? How are we contracting with our construction guys or the operations guys? So I quite like it that way, because the building blocks are quite clear. Like you can't just start and now you're negotiating legals, but you don't know what the debt tenor is. So so that's my day to day, but it all differs, because some of our transactions are in the equity space, some of them are in the debt space, some of them are for assets that already exist that are either being expanded or shareholders want to re-gear. Some of them are from scratch, where it's literally an empty piece of land.
Yeah.
And there are plans to build a hybrid solar and wind farm there. And they're all at different stages. Some are at negotiation stage, so could start your day and you're picking up a term sheet and going back and forth with your client, or your deal could be dying slow death. But deals die and come back to life.
Yeah.
A lot. And others are in execution forms. So at any point in time, you're juggling a few work streams at different stages and covering different sectors within infrastructure.
Yeah.
So every day looks different, but you know what the core transactions you're working on are and what needs to be done. Because if you don't progress on each, then you'll just never close. So you have to try and, like my boss always says, touch every board at least once a day. But maybe on this one, I just need to say, yes, I'm available for that meeting. I can send you that email. Or on another, getting something signed. On another, it's blocking out 4 hours to read the contract and revert to the lawyers. So every day you just make sure you touch each board at least once.
Okay. Very interesting. Are you fulfilled?
I am, and I think that's why I took that year where I was an EA, not because it was like a gap year for me, not at all, but I just wanted to think deeply about the type of team I want to join and the work that they do, because it was quite important for me that it aligns with my values. So the work that we do might not be as sexy as the other teams, where they're in private jets with their clients and going to fancy meetings and so
Yeah.
that's all fun and glamorous, but the work that I do was important in the sense that I want something that contributes to society, because some of the projects that we do, like driving around the coast and you see those wind farms and it's like, there they are. Yeah, that's very fulfilling, especially when you see the impact. I remember going to a commissioning of a solar plant in Mina, and the community leader there was, giving a speech, and he mentioned how 100 kids got to go to university from dividends from that project that were allocated to the community. And that almost brought me to tears, because how many of those kids would have made it through without that opportunity? Sure. I think that tangible impact, it's very fulfilling, and you just keep pushing, because this sector of investment banking is not for everyone, and that's fine because we still need people to do the sexy stuff, like the leverage finances and the corporate finance, M&A deals. We need that too, but it needs a different kind of person. Whereas I'm the kind of person suited for this type of job. So it is fulfilling because of that tangible outcome. A couple of years back, one of my favorite deals in Zim, the border post, I told my helper, that we have this project that we're working on. It's going to change everyone's lives. It's going to be so great. And she rolled her eyes for like 2 years. In one day, she sent me selfies from the border post. She's like, it was so easy to get home because she's from Zim, and it was seamless and it's beautiful. It's like world class. And we worked on the transaction for 3 years until it reached close.
Yeah.
And after close, it was still another 2 years for it to get built. So we're
What were you building?
upgrading the border post, the Zim side of the border post.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, the trucking companies that we spoke to were like, we'll pay whatever toll you guys will charge to upgrade this, because spending days at a border post versus a couple of hours is a game changer for business. And I mean that's border post is one of the most important in Southern Africa. So easing that congestion like has a direct impact on the Southern African economy. So things like that just help you push for another day where you know that you're making someone's life easier and that economies are, strengthening or forming or transforming because of that work.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. To close it off, go read. Okay, let's not close it off. A lot of investment bankers do this program called CFA.
Yes.
Tell me your views on it, if any.
So some people do CFA in university already, level 1. A lot of the UCTAs, yeah, you can. A lot of UCT peers did it in the first year already. It's I guess if you want to follow a specific stream and have that added advantage or extra edge, then sure, but it's not necessarily a disadvantage. So I've never been interested in pursuing a CFA, but a lot of my friends have, a lot of my colleagues have, who are already chartered accountants. So it's not a do or die, but it can be beneficial if you're in a very competitive process where that can give you an extra edge. But I've also found that people in investment banking who are not CAs pursue the CFA route to have that designation.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think in that instance, then it can be beneficial because then you have a professional designation. Unlike if you're a CA and you pursue that route, that's great too, but it's not a disadvantage not to have that.
Okay. Okay. That's good to know. CFA, for those that don't know what it stands for, can you tell us?
What the heck?
Okay. I will do what? I think it's a chartered financial analyst. If I'm wrong, we'll write it up.
I did do one of their courses, but that was because I was in asset management at the time. So I did a CFA course for a particular sector, but not like the big CFA 1, 2, 3,
Okay. Okay.
which I think it helped in terms of just a boost to your CV. That's other than finishing your articles and being a CA, you are still, investing in your professional development. Yeah.
Okay. What do we say to young Tebogo in terms of career choices or the journey that she has now taken? If you look back, is there any advice on what she can do differently, or you actually did well?
I think I'd just tell her that I'm proud of her, Like there are lots of challenges and mistakes made along the way, but that's part of the journey, because sometimes those detours actually help you find the correct path for you. So, and they're considering that at the end of 2024, only 8% of all registered chartered accountants in South Africa are black.
Mm.
That's a scary number. And of that 8%, women are in the minority. Black women are in the minority. So I think I'd say I'm proud of her. And yeah, it's a great achievement. And because it's not, being a chartered accountant is not a job, it's a professional designation. The world is yours. You can go work in an engineering firm, you can go into banking, you can go into, locomotives, any industry, because it's the skill set that you have that you can use and it's translatable in different industries. So I think I'll tell her to keep going. It's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Super proud. Super proud. Thank you guys. Thank you for coming. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to share your story.
Thank you so much for inviting me, beautiful platform.
You're most welcome. To those watching, thank you so much for getting this far. Those watching and listening. And that's a wrap from us. See you again next week, someday.
We done.